Progress.
At this time, I call to order the July 16th regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners for 2026. Ask you to all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led this morning by Commissioner Danny Tarkanian. Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, a few housekeeping items before we go into the opening public comment. Number one, Commissioner Rice will not be joining us today. He is still recuperating and not able to join us. Hopefully hopefully he'll be back with us by the meeting in August 6th, regular meeting. In addition to that, our Chief Operating Officer, Kathy Lewis, is filling in this morning for our County Manager, Jennifer Davidson, who has been in Washington, D.C., testifying before the House Public Lands and Natural Resources Committee and before the Senate Subcommittee on Public Lands and Natural Resources at the invitation of Senator Cortez Masto in regards to the Lands Bill. Good news is that the Lands Bill in the House did get voted out of committee, I believe, yesterday. That's what I'm understanding. So that's good news. We're making progress there. So hopefully good news by the end of the year. In addition to that, I know that I see quite a few people here that are here for item number 13.1, which is the Stormwater Task Force. I want the individuals. We've had 54 applicants apply for that. Of that, one has withdrawn his application. I believe that was Mr. Hollander, was it? Yes. Brad Hollander has withdrawn, so we're down to 53. We will not be making any of those selections today, okay? So just so you know that's not what's on the agenda today. The item on the agenda today will be to discuss the composition and geographic representation, and then I'm going to ask each of the, we're going to try to narrow that field down to anywhere from 20 to 25 from the 53 to bring forward back to the board at a special meeting on August 4th. That meeting will be held here, a special meeting, just to discuss that item and to try to get down to the 13 to 15 individuals we indicated would serve on that task force. So that meeting, that special meeting will take place on August 4th at 10 a.m. and we'll work through the duration to try to get down to 13 to 15 people that we've indicated. We will be interviewing for that task force. During that meeting, I'm looking at, we've talked to staff and we're going to try to ask applicants, those 20 to 25, to come forward and give us a couple minutes of why they feel like they would be best serving us on that task force, and then we'll have questions from this board in that regard to try to narrow that field down. So anyways, with that also being said, and understanding that item probably today, because we have, like I said, 53 applicants, this is the packet right here. So we're going to try to narrow that down today, but I don't like breaking in the middle of items. So my intention is today to run the meeting through item number 12, which is the clerk treasurer's item. And after we conclude that item, whatever time that might be, that could be 10:30, could be 11, 11:30, whatever time that is, we will take a 1 hour break for lunch, and then we'll return after lunch for item 13.1, which is the Stormwater Task Force. So if you're here for that item and only for that item, we won't be hearing that until after lunch. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of what our process is going to be here. So we allow 3 times for public comment. We allow 3 minutes at the beginning of the meeting for opening public comment. We allow 3 minutes at the end of the meeting for closing public comment, and then any items that are marked for possible action on our agenda, and we have 3 of those today, item 11, 12, and 13, for possible action. So we allow public comment during those times, maximum of 3 minutes per person. So as I've indicated, public comment is limited 3 minutes per person, and the Board of Commissioners does use timing lights. For those of you who have not been in attendance previously, that the timing system is run by our Vice Chair, Mr. Tolbert, Commissioner Tolbert. You'll have 3 minutes. So when you approach the podium, we ask you to print your name so we can get it accurately into the record. State your name, and your 3 minutes will start when you state your name. You'll see a yellow light and a beep when you have 30 seconds left, and then you'll hear an obnoxious red beep when your time is up, and we ask you to please conclude your statements and sit down at that time. And I've already stated when we take additional public comment. We have 1 liquor board item today. We do not take public comment on liquor board items. So we ask you to please limit your public comment to matters that are within the jurisdiction and control of the Board of County Commissioners. And we ask you to address that to the chairperson, myself, and the rest of the board, so that we may take future action on issues that are raised by the public. So at this time, opening public comment.
Test. Is this working? Yeah. Chair? Yeah, it's red. I've signed the sign-in sheet. Doug Flaherty, TahoeCleanAir.org. Chair and members and commissioners, in addition to my written comments, as I have done in the past, I'm formally submitting into the record this hard copy of the October 2024 Independent Lake Tahoe Basin Wildfire Evacuation Analysis. This document, prepared with AI Fuse modeling and over 400 simulations and unparalleled subject matter expertise, is substantial evidence that roadway wildfire evacuation capacity in Douglas, Tahoe, and the greater Lake Tahoe Basin is already dangerously constrained and beyond safe capacity. Under current pre-project conditions, Douglas, Tahoe clearance times for a fast-moving, wind and slope-driven, no-notice wildfire event are estimated at 5 to 7.5 hours under a variety of simulations. The primary authors of the document are highly qualified. That is John Messina, CAL FIRE Butte County Regional Fire Chief and CAL FIRE Incident Commander on the deadly Paradise Camp Fire, and Shane Lauderdale, Operations Section Chief on the Camp Fire and former Fire Chief of the City of Chico. Their biographies are on page 62 of the report. The entire Lake Tahoe Basin community, Douglas County staff and commissioners, TRPA, and partner agencies know the evacuation problem is severe, yet agencies continue to focus on persons at one-time metrics or perceived development caps while avoiding the central public safety question. How long will it take to safely evacuate our communities during a fast-moving, wind and slope-driven wildfire event under current dangerously constrained capacity conditions? The glamping project, with 53 camping spaces plus accessory structures and employee housing, will add individual and cumulative adverse impacts on already inadequate evacuation timing. Without a comprehensive environmental analysis, including a clear roadway evacuation capacity and timing threshold, plus accurate basin-wide modeling under current conditions, no finding of no significant effect or less than significant effect determination can lawfully be made. No public agency or developer has the right to make it harder for families, children, and our neighbors to escape wildfire. Therefore, TahoeCleanAir.org respectfully opposes approval of the glamping project until these critical safety items are fully analyzed and resolved. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. We already have that in the supplemental. Yeah, it's already a part of the agenda. Thank you. Yeah, it's already been included. Yeah. Thank you.
Rachel Christensen. This task force has an important job ahead of it. There are many difficult issues that need to be addressed, and this group will help shape the recommendations that move our county forward. For that reason, this task force must be fair, honest, and independent. Public confidence in this process starts with the people you choose to serve. There are several outstanding applicants who bring valuable experience, knowledge, and genuine commitment to this community. They should be given strong consideration. However, I'm concerned about a few applicants who checked no on the conflict of interest question, despite relationships that could reasonably raise concerns about their independence. For example, a county commissioner's contractor who was publicly campaigning for her reelection, and the husband of one of the stormwater manager's closest friends. Whether those relationships meet legal definition of a conflict is not the only issue. Public trust also depends on avoiding the appearance of bias. Today's appointments are about more than filling seats. They're about establishing credibility. The people you choose will show this community whether this task force is intended to be an independent body focused on finding real solutions or one that simply reinforces existing relationships. I ask you to choose members based on their qualifications, independence, and commitment to serving the public, not on who they know. Your decisions today will speak louder than any mission statement or resolution ever could. They will tell this community whether this task force was created to earn the public's trust or simply to ask for it. You've all seen me come up here time after time to speak of what we've gone through. But I want to speak to you and say the reason that I've been standing up is for what is right. That little guy over there, that's why I fight. Because if I don't, he's going to be stuck with the messes that you have created. We all want to live a life we can enjoy in this beautiful Carson Valley, not one where we have to fight the county on every turn. So really think about what you were doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there additional public comment?
Jim Slade. Perhaps this is the last time I will discuss the Perry Master Plan Amendment, or not, depending on how it goes. It does have some relevance today, however. I commend the Gardnerville Town Manager and Board for their diligence in assessing the findings for this amendment, and particularly for following the clear letter and intent of the Minden and Gardnerville Plan for Prosperity. They voted unanimously to deny the application. They recognized that Perry's proposal ignored the priority granted to infill, but instead would be sprawl, and that it would violate the prohibition on new receiving areas outside of urban service areas. Importantly, the town board, as stewards of Gardnerville, recognized that it would harm rather than enhance the community's desired character as required. Yet somehow Commissioners Rice, Tarkanian, and Tolbert believed that they knew Gardnerville's desired character better than the town board, which was absurd and insulting. The town board emphasized following the Plan for Prosperity's prohibition on expanding the town boundaries and urban service areas until 85% build-out of existing boundaries. Since the town was far from 85% build-out, they rightly concluded that further expansion should not be allowed at that time. Rice, Tarkanian, and Tolbert didn't care. The Planning Commission oversees the master plan, and they too voted unanimously to deny the item, citing clearly the several required findings of a master plan amendment that were failed to meet. They too were insulted by the 3 county commissioners who voted for approval as if they understood the master plan better than the Planning Commission, which they obviously don't. Even community development staff, who so often seem to recommend approval of master plan amendments, in this case recommended denial, determining that Perry's application did not meet a number of required findings. Rice, Tarkanian, and Tolbert ignored that as well. It wasn't their decision to disregard the recommendations of the town of Gardnerville, the Planning Commission, and community development staff. It was their arrogance in thinking that they actually knew better than all those entities. Their reasons given for voting for approval were disingenuous and not fact-based. This was the second worst board decision this century, only behind a disastrous and legally dubious master plan amendment allowing Park Ranch to transfer development receiving area from the Topaz area to the heart of the Carson Valley. And look what that got us. Lawsuit after lawsuit at great expense to the county residents, and will cause unwanted large-scale growth that will further detract from our rural character, will worsen traffic, threaten our water supply, and deteriorate our quality of life in many ways.
Thank you.
Jim Jackson. As you all probably know, South Pacific is developing a super El Nino. That means a lot of rain, a lot of snow, and that leads to a lot of flooding. So your stormwater project needs to be accelerated and all of that taken into consideration for it. The main thing I wanted to talk about today, though, was in a previous meeting, it was brought to everybody's attention that there was a $60,000 plus deficit in what a developer owed the county and had not paid. A couple of developers, I believe. It had been told previously to that there was no problem with the developers and that they were currently up to date on all of their agreements. Then it came out that they weren't. In any normal organization, business organization, somebody would be called on the carpet for that kind of a mistake. You don't just go losing $60,000 in accounts receivable and just brush it off. My suggestion is that that department be looked at carefully on why did that mistake happen? Who was the person responsible for making that mistake? And what was done about it? In any of the companies that I've either owned or worked for, a mistake of that magnitude, person found responsible would have been fired. Perhaps that needs to be done here. In the people that I've been talking to in my neighborhood, they've looked at that and they've referred back to another instance in the valley, in the county, when money was disappearing or product was disappearing. And they've named this one now Developer Gate. It is questionable on what is actually happening when that much money goes unaccounted for. It makes you, the commissioners, and the head of the county look foolish that that can happen. It even is worse if nothing is done about it. And by nothing being done about it, I mean publicly, so that the people in the county know that you truly are looking after the money that we pay in taxes and comes to the county to be used. If nothing is ever said about it again, that will always be a blemish on your record. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Additional public comment?
Hope you can read that. That was quick. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the...
Did you sign, and then can you state your name?
I did.
Can you
I
state
didn't
your
state
name?
my name. This is really short. So my name's Terry Huffman, and I live in Genoa. And I've done a little bit of research on the floodwater just on my own because I have so much time on my hands. There's several government agencies that develop and maintain powerful publicly available mapping and modeling software specifically designed for flood risk analysis, stormwater management, and floodwater abatement planning. I don't know if we've taken advantage of any of these great softwares that are available, but it might be something the team might want to look at. Douglas County requires focus on infrastructure, design, emergency planning, and broad risk mapping. The gentleman that was just talking said, our planning, we're behind the 8 ball right now because El Nino's coming, but we've heard that before. Oh, sorry. I would have printed it, but my printer doesn't function today. Solving floodwater in the county level is structured, multi-phase approach focused on assessments, planning, implementation, and ongoing maintenance. And I think one of the things we might be not looking at right now is ongoing maintenance, because we do have things that are clogging up during floods. Even during a rainstorm, we should be looking at maintenance. We also must know the responsibilities of whether we, the county, are responsible or if the federal government or state is responsible for the flood. I am sure that this body has already identified all the risks, the flood-prone areas, which are all on the tips of our tongues. As previously, I requested deliverables, like we're going to collect the money. What do we get for this money? What is an actual list of what's going to be corrected, how it's going to be corrected? And I feel that in this new team that you're developing, which I think is a great idea, I'll just forget the list. I feel that with the new corrective action team, I spent most of my adult life as a quality engineer doing corrective action root cause. And I feel that your team, with guidance from your subject matter experts, which I know you're going to have some subject matter experts, I feel that they can correct this problem and do a good job. I would like to join the team. If not, I would definitely like to see the deliverables. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Huffman. Additional public comment?
Kim McGarry for the record. I'm back again today. Actually got some really good information here for you guys we can put on public record so we can get this all. We're talking about El Nino, we're talking about stormwater. So as you're discussing this new stormwater task fee and implementing new stormwater fees, my situation actually shows why this is a serious problem. In 2003, the county approved LDA 01083 with mandatory drainage easements and a 50-foot restricted use area that were never recorded here. We had that big agenda about it. And so for 23 years, the county failed to inspect or enforce any maintenance, even though it was required. Their own 2023 letter admits that the channel deteriorated until there was no channel left. Because there's no recorded easements, uncontrolled flood water is repeatedly hitting electrical poles and infrastructures in our neighborhood. This is creating a serious public safety hazard for me and my neighbors. This is also a clear National Flood Insurance Program compliance issue. As they participating in that, Douglas County is required to enforce approved drainage plans and prevent adverse flood impacts. The failure to record and enforce these easements violates that requirement. Before creating a new task force and charging any new fees, I respectfully ask the board to fully look at the existing legal obligations under NRS 278.3 by recording the collective declaration of drainage easements and enforcing the mapping and the maintenance that was required on that subdivision. You can't just go and subdivide land next to me after I live there, make all these rules for it, not make an easement, not make the people put back any liable channel, refuse multiple times in emails to go out and check that channel, to have anything to do with the channel. This is a requirement under law that you go back and do that declaration to the easements that were required at the time of subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McGarry. Is there additional public comment? Okay, I see no additional public comment. I'll bring it back to the board. I do want to address several of the questions that were raised by the residents. First of all, Ms. Christensen, we are not making any decisions. I think I said that in my original notes. Okay, we're not making any decisions today other than trying to take a list of 53 people and whittle it down to a more manageable level. Of course, the issue is we have 53, okay? And quite frankly, I don't know that we can make a bad decision on any of these 53. So that's where our real dilemma is going to be, is trying to get down to 53 today. But otherwise, we will not be making any decisions today on the actual makeup of that board. Number two, Ms. Huffman, you brought up the deliverables in regards to ongoing maintenance, okay? The current Stormwater Division has an ongoing maintenance process and program. It's on our website. So we are currently spending upwards of $1.3 million on that out of the general fund, okay? And so that's what our dilemma is that we've taken that 1.3 million out of our general fund to fund the Stormwater Division that has a daily maintenance process, okay, of around the county, okay? It's on our website. So just go on our website and you can find out exactly what their schedule is. But they clean out every culvert and every storm drain on an annual basis. So anyways, you can look at the website and that'll tell you what the deliverables are. The dilemma is do we continue to take the $1.3 million out of the general fund and out of road maintenance and put it over into stormwater? That's our problem. So anyways, that's one of the processes that the Stormwater Division Task Force will take a look at in trying to develop, okay? That'll be one of their tasks. So anyways, I just wanted to let you know that's on the website already. So with that, then, did anybody else have anything? Okay, very good then. We'll go into item 4 then. Item 4 is the approval of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Tarkanian, seconded by Commissioner Tolbert to approve the proposed agenda as presented. Since there's no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0 and 1 absent. Okay. Taylor, you got that? Okay, thank you. Okay, and at this time then, also item 5 is the approval of the previous minutes for possible action discussion to approve the draft minutes of the regular meetings of, June 4th, 2026 and June 18th, 2026 of the Board of County Commissioners. Entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Tolbert, second by Commissioner Tarkanian to approve the draft minutes of June 4th, 2026 and June 18th, 2026. Is there any discussion in that regard? Since no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0 and 1. Okay, this board also sits at as the liquor board. So with the addition of our Sheriff Coverly, he is not with us today. But at this time, I will recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Douglas County Liquor Board and go to item number 7, being brought by Captain Coons, our administrative captain, for possible action. I'll read that into the agenda or into the record. Discussion to approve the unrestricted mobile liquor license for Flying A LLC DBA The Traveling Trough, represented by owner and operator Amanda Almeida. Amanda Almeida has signed a waiver of notice of hearing. Flying A LLC DBA The Traveling Trough is located at 1588 County Road, Minden, Nevada, 89423. Mr. Coons.
Morning, Captain Kuntz with the Sheriff's Office for the record. This applicant has completed all required paperwork and passed their background check. The Sheriff's Office is not opposed to this application.
By any chance, is the owner and operators Amanda here? Okay, there she is. Okay, thank you. Okay, any questions, commissioners? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I recommend we approve the unrestricted mobile liquor license for Flying A LLC DBA The Traveling Trough as presented.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Tolbert, seconded by Commissioner Hales to approve the unrestricted mobile liquor license for Flying A LLC DBA The Traveling Trough as presented. Since no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-0 and 2 because he's not here. So, okay, 4-0-2. Thank
If I
you,
may.
Captain Coons.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Appreciate it.
I just want to say that's a really clever name.
Okay, so item 7 is complete, and so we'll now adjourn as the Douglas County Liquor Board and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. We have a consent calendar next before us, items A through O. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
I move approval of consent agenda items A through O.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Hales, seconded by Commissioner Tarkanian to approve the consent calendar, items A through O as presented. Sensing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0 and 1. Okay, now we'll go into wow, we're moving through quickly, pretty quickly. Okay, so we'll take an early lunch today, it looks like. The administrative agenda, item 10, or actually item 11, community development or possible action. Discussion to adopt ordinance 2026-1671, amending Douglas County Code Title 18, Appendix B, the Minden town boundary by annexing approximately 149.69 acres into the town of Minden boundary. The parcels to be annexed are assessor parcel numbers APNs 1320-28-000-051, 1320-28-000-052, 1320-28-000-053, and 1320-28-000-054. They are located north of Buckeye Road and east of the Montero Plan development within the Buckeye Farm Specific Plan area and the Buckeye Farm Neighborhood 1 Plan development. This is the second reading, and we have our principal planner, Ms. Kate Orolis O'Neill, with us today.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman Gardner, Commissioners, and everyone in attendance today. Kate Morlis O'Neill for the record. I do have one correction. If you could turn to page 401 of your packet. I'll give you some extra kudos if you can figure out the mistake. It's the very last line. Right. Who's going to guess what it is? The very last line. I have the wrong number. It should be ordinance number 2026-1671. Often I have multiple screens up, and that is just, I missed that change, updating that ordinance number. So page 401, and it's that last line, ordinance number 2026-1671. It's correct in the ordinance itself, but I just wanted to make that note. I do have Rachel Hamer with us today. She is filling in with JD, and she's extremely excited to do this presentation. I saw her last night at the workshop, and she was so stressed out about it. I said, I promise it'll be easy peasy. You're going to do a great job. So anyway, on that note, I'll pass it over to Rachel, and if you have any questions after.
You shouldn't prejudge us like that.
Thank you, Chairman Gardner. Rachel Hamer for the record with the town of Minden. So the subject property, this is part of the development agreement between Douglas County and Park Cattle. This is something that we've known, and we've been waiting to come forward. So the town of Minden is looking to annex approximately 149.69 acres for the Buckeye Farms Neighborhood 1 into the town of Minden boundary. The planned unit development and the tentative subdivision map were approved by the Mindentown Board in the February 24 meeting. An annexation of the entire neighborhood was one of our conditions. So this has been a thing that we knew was coming. A little bit of housekeeping. The same request was also approved by the BOCC the following month in March of 2024. At the May 26, 2026 Mindentown Board meeting, the annexation request was brought forward to the town board and approved. And we have 6 months to bring it to you all for approvals per code. So if you want to forward one. Okay, so this is just to show you the location of the property. It is to the east of the current Montera subdivision and to the west of right where the judicial building is being built. By annexing this portion, it would actually just make everything flow a little bit more. We have kind of a call out right now between these two properties, so this would just continue on that town boundary. You want to go ahead and forward the next. And then this is just to show you the current zoning map. So the outside areas, there's a following map that's going to show you a little bit more in detail as to where the open space is located, which is this one. So there's currently, for this, and we're only talking about just this neighborhood, there are approximately 324 residences in this particular planned area. And that top area that abuts Muller Parkway is the open space. And this is, again, a part that was already approved. So I'm just kind of here to answer any questions that you might have or anything like that.
Commissioners, questions? Okay, so so these are four parcels, and you said the one on the outside that's going to remain open space? Okay. And we have already, as I understand it, I believe that we have already annexed our parcel of so this will make it contiguous finally? Okay. Yeah, okay. That's what I thought, so. Other questions by the board, then we will go to public comment on item number 11. Is there any public comment here in regards to item number 11, the annexation of these four parcels into the Minden town boundary?
Jim Slade. Let's juxtapose the actions of the Minden Town Board in recent years with those of the Gardnerville Town Board earlier this year regarding the Perry Master Plan Amendment, which I addressed earlier. When the Park Ranch Master Plan Amendment came forward 8 years ago, the Minden Town Board and County Commissioners Rice, Penzel, and Walsh supported it, despite public opposition that ran 50-1 against it, and despite the fact that it didn't meet any of the required findings for such an amendment. They ignored many of the goals and policies of the master plan that could not be met. That included that the county should prioritize infill, though the proposal was not infill but sprawl. They violated the prohibition on new receiving areas outside of urban service areas. They claimed that it would enhance the community's desired character despite public opposition in Minden as well as everywhere else. They claimed that there was a demonstrated need for more receiving area already approved, though there was much of that already approved. And they somehow stated that the amendment was compatible with the actual and master planned use of the adjacent properties, even though nearly all the surrounding area had a land use designation of agriculture. Shortly thereafter, the Minden Town Board voted to approve the Buckeye Ranch development with up to 2,500 homes, which would more than double the town's population and forever change its character. They did this contrary to a clear desire throughout the county to retain our rural character, to protect our natural resources, and to have a sustainable growth. They also chose to violate the clear requirement of the Plan for Prosperity that stated that Minden should not expand its town boundaries until the town was 85% built out, which it was not. Today, you're being asked to do just that, in violation of Minden's Plan for Prosperity. Why has Minden acted so differently than Gardnerville on these issues? If you wondered where former county commissioners who were defeated in their bids for re-election, look no further than the Minden Town Board. Steve Thaler and Larry Walsh lost their re-election bids due primarily to their dogged pro-growth stance. I'm sure they were both shocked at their losses to political neophytes John Engels and Chairman Mark Gardner. But that only shows how poorly they understood the public's desires, including slow growth, protecting our water, preserving our quality of life, and retaining our rural character. Also on the town board is a former director of community development who recently lost her primary, in large part because of her pro-growth views and her siding with Park Ranch in lawsuits against the county. Add to that the fact that the Minden town manager is demonstrably more pro-growth than the manager in Gardnerville. I don't exactly know what the repercussions would be if you denied this request, but I urge you to consider if you want to clearly violate the plan for prosperity and how much you want to help Park Ranch development that was originally part of Park Ranch and their ill-conceived, unpopular developments going forward, especially since they continue to sue the county at every turn at great expense to the county.
Thank you. Additional public comment on item number 11? Okay, I'm not seeing any additional public comment, so I'll bring it back to the board. Any additional questions, commissioners? Does anybody wish to offer a motion?
Mr. Chair, I recommend we adopt ordinance 2026-1671 as presented, amending Title 18, Appendix B of the Douglas County Code by annexing approximately 149.69 acres into the town of Minden boundary.
Motion by Commissioner Tolbert, seconded by Commissioner Tarkanian to adopt ordinance 2026-1671 as presented. Commissioner Hales.
I would like to confirm my understanding that we do have a contractual obligation under the development agreement to, I don't know, I guess I'm asking this question. What is our obligation under the development agreement regarding this proposed action?
Doug Ritchie with the Douglas County District Attorney's Office. I didn't anticipate this question. I will say that the development agreement secures for Park Ranch Holdings vested development rights, which contemplate annexation in order to receive necessary public facilities, including water. So, although the development agreement doesn't specifically talk about this annexation, it can be inferred, particularly in light of the vested development rights that Park Ranch Holdings has acquired.
Thank you. That's how I understood it, and I feel an obligation to get us out of litigation as quickly as possible and as reasonably as possible. And therefore, while I don't love this situation that we're in, it was a previous commission that got us here, and I don't wish to complicate it further. So I will support the motion.
Thank you. And we are in discussion of the motion, so it's completely acceptable for us to do this. And I share your concerns. It not only ties, but it does tie in not only water, but also sewer, right? So all public services, right, are required in this annexation.
Doug Ritchie with the Douglas County District Attorney's Office. I'm not sure exactly in the Minden-Gardenville Sanitation District's service boundaries are. I think they may have already included this area within their boundary. I'm not sure. Oh, they are. Staff is indicating that they have already. Rachel may be able to help, but I do know that Minden provides water, so you would have to have this annexation for that.
Rachel Hamer for the record, just for clarification, Minden-Garnerville Sanitation is in the process currently. They're doing the exact same thing. They're annexing it into their service area. It was not previously part of it.
Okay, very good. Okay, with that clarification, is there any other discussion on this motion? Sensing no further discussion on the motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And so that's 4, 0, and 1 absent. So, thank you. Thank you. Okay. We're going to go to now item 12. For possible action, discussion on the appointment of committee members to write the favorable, pro, and opposing, con arguments for the 2026 general election advisory ballot question concerning separating the county clerk and the county treasurer into 2 distinct elected offices per NRS 295.121. It's being presented by our clerk treasurer, Amy Bergens.
Thank you, Chairman Gardner and Commissioners. Amy Bergens, Douglas County Clerk Treasurer for the record. At your previous meeting, the board adopted Resolution 2026R-042, placing the advisory question regarding the office of the county clerk ex officio treasurer on the November 3rd, 2026 general election ballot. As part of that action, my office was directed to advertise for members to serve on the ballot question committees required under Nevada law, 1 committee to prepare the arguments in favor of the question, and 1 committee to prepare arguments against it. The application period is now closed. We received 3 applications to serve on the committee against the ballot question and 2 applications to serve on the committee for the ballot question. Under NRS 295.121, the Board of County Commissioners may appoint not more than 3 members to each committee. The statute does not require that each committee have the same number of members. Rather, it establishes a maximum of 3 members per committee. Accordingly, the board may appoint all 3 applicants for the committee against and both applicants for the committee for. With only 2 applications received for the committee for, that committee would consist of 2 members unless the board chooses to appoint fewer members. Once appointed, each committee is responsible for preparing the official ballot argument for its respective position. After the initial arguments are submitted, each committee also has the opportunity to prepare a rebuttal to the opposing committee's arguments, all within the statutory deadlines established by NRS Chapter 295 and submitted in the timeline that was in the staff report in the prior meeting. With that, if there are any questions, more than happy to answer.
Commissioners, questions? Go ahead.
So hopefully you'll indulge me a little bit because it's my first time going through this. And just so you know, I know you guys are watching, but I've got an eye issue going on with my left eye, so contacts in and out. So I'm not really just pirating here. I just the contacts out, so it's easier just to go one eye here. But since I haven't been through this process of appointing for this before, I've received public comment about that we should maybe hold off on this because of the lack of numbers. But can you give me a little history on how this traditionally goes? I mean, how many people, are we short applicants? How many people normally apply? Are we always at 3s? And how has this differed from how we've done it in the past? Just a little background so I can be more comfortable in responding to the people that.
So I would love to give you historical data, but this is my first time as well. So I know there are a couple other people in this room that might have more knowledge. Cynthia Gregory is here and Kathy Lewis, the previous clerk treasurer, is here. But this is the first time that under my tenure in the last 6 years that we have had an advisory question go forward. So I did not research how many were in previous county questions, so I don't have a good answer for that, but perhaps someone else in the room can answer.
Good morning, Cynthia Gregory from the District Attorney's Office. This is, I think, my 5th question that has gone on the ballot. And actually, having 3 applicants is pretty unusual, as well as 2. The last 2 questions, nobody applied, and therefore both the pro and the con were written by the clerk's office in conjunction with the DA's office. So having this number of applicants is actually this is a large number. So, I mean, as far as the history, I'm happy to answer any other questions. And I believe we've written 2. The other one where there was committees, there was only 1 person on each side. So having 3 and 2 is a good number.
Okay. So I have a couple, and you answered just one, what happens if nobody applies? And that's when we found ourselves in that position before, okay? So it says, the statute says up to 3, so there doesn't have to be a balance on this, is that right? It can be, even if we only had, as I understand it, you say we have, and I've read the resume, so, or the application, so we have 2 people that applied for the yes side of it and 3 people that have applied for the no. We don't have to have a balance of 2 and 2 or 3 and 3 or 1 and 1, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
You just
And
have to have both committees. So you
Both
can't have
committees.
3 people on one committee and then have the DA and clerk's office right the other side. There has to be both committees. Maximum of 3 people, minimum of 1.
Okay, and, but the committee themselves, the 2 and the 3, if we were to appoint all 5, they would still only create one, they would only formulate one document, right? One statement for, one statement against. So they would
Correct.
collaborate in that process. Is that-
Correct.
Okay. And then there's an opportunity then also to give their statement before it's published, give their statement to the opposing party, right? Or rebuttal.
Yes, if you look at the timeline, each committee writes their arguments. They submit them to me, and in conjunction with the DA's office, we review them and then provide them to the opposing committees. And then the opposing committees write a rebuttal, submit those to us. We submit any types of edits that need to be done for factuality and legality reasons, not for does it comport with what we want it to say, but for the purpose of ensuring the factualness and the legality of it. And then there is also a amount of time where each committee can appeal any decision made by the district attorney and myself to the court system. And within NRS, they have 3 days to do that. That is all part of this timeline to be able to hit our September 5th deadline for our vendor to print sample ballots. So the timeline is very tight as it is, yes.
Okay. And your office or our DA's office doesn't do any editing of this, of these statements?
So in the past, we work collaboratively with the committees. So for example, you look at ease of writing. If you look that you want it at an 8th grade level. So sometimes if there's a big word, we might suggest, hey, what do you think about this? Without changing the substance. But there might be some editing if there's some factual misstatements and those type of things. But we work cooperatively with the committees. And I know I've worked with one, I don't know if Mr. Slade is here, but I've worked on one before with Mr. Slade, and we work cooperatively. I haven't had any that have been appealed to the district court.
Okay. Well, it'll have to be written for my needs at probably kindergarten level, but anyways. I had to put some levity into this, right? We get so serious and wrapped up around it so much. Okay. Thank you. You've answered my questions. So there's no problem with us. We've had 5 people apply, 2 on one side, 3 on the other. So there's no problem in approving all 5, right? We don't have to. It doesn't have to be an equal body.
Correct.
Just wanted to clarify that. So. Okay.
And I have one question. And what if somebody was interested in participating? Are they excluded from this? Could they reach out to the other 2 members, say if we wanted to get a third that simply didn't make it in time? Is there, how would that, we're just trying to, keep it all together here.
So you are appointing the committees, and these are the official representatives who will be responsible for writing it. If a member of the public who didn't get in the timing, if they wanted to reach out to that committee and said, hey, here are my thoughts on it, that's fine, but they're not an official committee member, and that committee can choose whether or not to accept those arguments or not. So obviously, somebody could reach out to that committee and provide their opinion, but they're not a member of the committee, and the committee's the one who are designated for and responsible for writing the argument.
Okay. I've reviewed all 5, and I find all 5 of them to be acceptable. And it's been suggested by members of the public that perhaps we need to delay this decision. However, my concerns are that we have 5 people that are very acceptable, and what are we saying to those 5 if we don't go forward with it today? I just don't, I don't know that that's necessarily fair. So anyways, if there's no further questions, we'll go to public comment on this item.
Jim Jackson, I think my question is answered, but I just want to make sure. Once these 2 committees write their arguments, the only review of them is for factual content, legal and factual. There is no approval by any of the district attorneys or your office on what they're saying, only that it is factual and nothing is not truthful in it. Is that correct?
Thank you.
Jim Slade. I am here, Cynthia. Nice to see you again. And I will confirm that when I worked on, I've worked on 2 or 3 of these, and when I worked with Cynthia, it was a very cooperative experience and without problems. On the other hand, with the Sustainable Growth Initiative and that advisory question, District Attorney Scott Doyle thought that we weren't allowed to express our side of the argument, that he could dictate some of the things that we couldn't say, and that was a very contentious and inappropriate way for him to put his foot on the scale in that regard, for which I have never forgiven him. But needless to say, we prevailed anyhow. The Sustainable Growth Initiative was on the ballot. It was approved by the voters, despite 2 trips to the Supreme Court. After it passed the voters and the developers sued, the county, of course, is going to side with the voters, right? No, they sided with the developers and took us to court again, and we again prevailed. So there's the short history of my ballot questions.
Additional public comment.
Good morning, Chairman, Vice Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Barbara Griffin, and I worked in the Clerk Treasurer's office for 35 years, had the honor of serving as the elected Clerk Treasurer for 22 years. I am, first of all, here certainly not to criticize our Clerk Treasurer. I understand the job, her stress, and all of the pressures that she's under. So I want that to be clearly understood. I respect Amy, and I've supported her and will continue to support her. But I am here today because I am a little perplexed, and I am greatly concerned with the timing. These offices in the county were created in the late 1800s, and it's not just a light task to split an office. And I am concerned that the voters, the residents of this county, will not have adequate time to really understand the full picture. And that is really why I threw my name in the hat, because I think it's very, very important that it be truly analyzed. And it would have been nice if the board would have had time to say, give us the full spectrum so we can know what was, what is, and what possibly could be. So I know many things have changed since I left office, and that is partly what we will address on the committee. But I truly would like to see this pulled until 2028 because it is too tight for this year. I agree with her. This should have come to you maybe in March, so there could have been greater discussion, better presentation before the board and before the public. What we're doing right now is truly limiting the discussion to probably 6 or 8 weeks. And I would ask you, when you were campaigning for office, did you only campaign for 6 or 8 weeks? Because by the time they get the ballots prepared and they are mailed, people will be voting. Most of the organizations will have probably their August and September agendas filled with candidates. This may not have the opportunity. So my time is up, but I just am concerned about the time.
You have 30 more seconds.
Oh.
Yeah.
About the timing. I think out of respect for the voters and your constituents, nobody likes to feel like something got ramrodded through or that they didn't have full disclosure in time. So that's my concern. I felt like I should put my name in because I think they do deserve the full amount of time to have a good analysis. But like I said, no criticism, Amy. Respect her. We've had great conversations and hope to continue we do that. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. And thank you for your service previously and also for your, I think you're still on the fire board now, are you not? So thank you for that service as well. So you continue to serve our community. We appreciate that and recognize that.
I am term limited, so this will be it. I'll be done this year. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh,
Okay. Okay. Is there any additional public comment on item number 12? Okay, then I'll bring it back to the board. Commissioner Hales, you had an additional comment?
I pulled up the timeline that was in our board packet 2 weeks ago. And this is additional information in light of the request by some members of the public to postpone this until our next meeting. But as it stands right now, 11 days from today is the deadline for the committees to submit their arguments to the county clerk. And then a week later, the county clerk provides those arguments to the opposing committees. That gives the county clerk and I suppose the deputy DA time to make sure everything in those is legal and factual. Then a week after that, the committees then would have 1 week to submit rebuttal arguments. And then after that, the county clerk and district attorney would be able to review those, and they would take the timeline lists 7 days. Let's see, deadlines. The timeline gives the county clerk and the DA 4 days to do that. Then there's a period of time where committees can appeal the clerk's decision on whether the wording is legal and factual. That's 7 days for an appeal of either of the committees. And then 5 days after that is the last day for the district court to hear the appeal. So when you add all those days up, it's August 26th. That is 1 week before the language is due to be certified for inclusion in the sample ballot. So I'm going over all of that to inform the members of the public who feel that we should just postpone this 3 weeks to our next meeting, because this is a timeline that gives the writing of the texts 1 week. And when you're working with multiple people, we all know from our junior high science fair work, et cetera, that it takes a while for multiple people to work together on things. So it doesn't appear to me to be realistic to say that we can make this decision in 3 weeks and still get this on the ballot in September. It would be a matter of a day or two that the committees would have to write rebuttals, et cetera, or the DA would have to do their work. And that it isn't a situation in which good quality work can be done. So to those people who are requesting the handful of people I've heard from who are requesting that we postpone the appointment to these committees, I just don't think that can be done. And I appreciate Barbara Griffin. Thank you for being here and for sharing that perspective. I do believe this ballot is our last chance to put this question before the people. Do you want to address that?
It is not the
Ms.
final
Perkins?
ballot. We could postpone it till 2028 if it was so desired to do so. However, this was, with discussion with the county manager's office and the district attorney's office, we felt that this year was the year to bring this forward.
So we're not discussing today whether or not to put it on the ballot. That was approved at the last meeting. That was approved at the last meeting to put it on the ballot. What we're
Right.
trying to do today is identify the people who are on the different committees to
Right.
present the arguments that have to go on the ballot. So
Right, but I thought the statute said that there was some deadline in NRS.
The deadline is based on population, and our population has to be under 52,000 per the census. The next census is 2030. So we
Okay, got
have
it.
the 26 election and the 28 election.
Got it. So 28 would still be viable theoretically. Thanks.
yes, but once again, we don't want to confuse the two items, okay? We've already decided by vote to put it on the ballot. Now the question is, who's going to serve on these committees for the questions? And since we have, and certainly in my opinion, by having members of the public come forward and offer those sides is much better than, and much more representative of the people than the district attorney's office. So, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Okay, we've already had public comment, so I'll entertain a motion.
I do feel that the people who have stepped forward to volunteer their services on these committees are qualified, and I appreciate them being willing to serve. I also feel that there's enough time for the community to understand these issues. Realistically, I don't know that most voters would do more research than they're going to get in their sample ballots. And I don't know that there's going to be a lot of community members rising up to form organizations in favor or opposed, which would take, that does take an amount of time. So I am in favor of not revisiting the question of timing, and I am in favor of appointing the 5 people who have come forward and volunteered.
Is that a motion?
All right, Mr. Chair, I move that we appoint committee members Maureen Casey and Virginia Starrett to the yes or favorable pro committee, and Ross Chichester, Scott Doyle, and Barbara Griffin. Oh, now I closed the whole thing. To the no or oppose con committee for the 2026 general election advisory ballot question to separate the office of Douglas County Clerk and County Treasurer into 2 distinct elected offices.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Hales, Commissioner Tart. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Okay. Okay, we had multiple people talking here. Okay, so motion by Commissioner Tolbert, seconded by Commissioner Tarkanian to appoint the 5 members identified as the committees for the 2026 general election advisory ballot question to separate the offices of Douglas County Clerk and County Treasurer into 2 distinct elected officers. Discussion on the motion. All I would like to do, remind folks is that this is an advisory question, okay? And so even if the public says yes, that doesn't require this board to do it. Okay, so that's an important. It is strictly an advisory question. So if they do approve it, then of course it gives the clerk treasurer time to prepare all the necessary mechanisms to create the 2 offices. But that would still have to come back to us as a ordinance to separate the 2 offices. So that's part of the time frame also. So anyways, if there's no other discussion on the motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes 4-0 and 1 absent. Okay. So as I indicated, we were going to get through this particular item, and then we were going to take a 1-hour break. So we will return. I'm going to give us an hour and 5 minutes. So we'll return at 12:15, and we'll resume our meeting with item number 13.1. So thank you. Okay, it's 12:15. It seems kind of early to be back from lunch, but we took an early lunch. So I'll call the meeting back into order, and we'll go into item 13.1. Mr. Warner, I won't say what I was going to say. I'll save it for tomorrow. Okay, so I think you know what I was going to say. So anyways, with that, for possible action, I'll read that into the agenda and we'll go from there. For possible action on 13.1, discussion regarding the composition and geographical representation of the Stormwater Task Force, the evaluation process, and criteria for reviewing applicants, consideration of narrowing the applicant pool for further review at a future meeting, consideration of whether the task force facilitator should be selected from among the appointed members or from outside the task force, and possible direction to staff regarding the solicitation and vetting of applicants or formation and implementation of the Stormwater Task Force, being presented by our Assistant County Manager, Wendy Lang.
Thank you very much, Chairman, members of the Commission. Wendy Lang, Assistant County Manager for the record, and thank you for your kindness of reading that full, lengthy agenda. Mr. Chair, I wanted to provide as much flexibility and clarity to the public about the conversation that you all might have today as you work through some decision making. I am here with a next step, if you will, in establishing a stormwater task force, and that is to bring back to you the applicants we received who were interested in this task force. As a slight recap, on June 18th, this board approved the creation of a stormwater utility task force intended to evaluate options and develop recommendations with regard to the stormwater utility that has been in progress for some time now. Attached to this item and brought forward to you on June 18th are a framework memo offering recommendations for a structure for an opportunity for ratepayers and stakeholders to collaboratively review the needs and proposed solutions and identify recommendations. So applications were solicited and collected from June 22nd through July 8th, 2026. And today I'm bringing those applications that were received back to you for review and consideration of next steps in the process. In today's item in the backup material, there are some tools for you. There is a list of all 54 applications that were received, including notations regarding the representation that those individual applicants provide. So there was some framework recommendation around geographical diversity, parcel type of diversity, as well as ensuring representation from agricultural and business and builder organizations. The individual applications are all attached in their entirety. I do want to note, it is my understanding one of the applicants has withdrawn from consideration. So I just want to make sure that that is on the record for today. And now I'm going to forget who it was, sorry.
Brad Hollander, as I understand.
Brad Hollander, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So we can note that that applicant is no longer wishing to be considered. I also provided, thanks to our wonderful GIS team here at the county, sort of a heat map, if you will, of where the applicants come from across the county to provide a visual reference, and a suggested scoring evaluation tool that you may apply in your consideration of reviewing the applicants. I have, through this PowerPoint, oops, I'm not supposed to call it that, right? Slide deck, I think. I have divided the applicants into some ways that might be a little bit easier, because now 53 is a large number to evaluate and consider. So with your permission, Mr. Chair, I'll sort of go through some ways to look at these applications, if you will, the lenses. This first slide that I have before you is the 3 applicants who identified on their application as an agricultural producer or a ditch committee stakeholder. And that is one of the areas that was discussed and recommended in the suggested framework to consider ensuring that there is representation from this population. And so there are 3 names that have identified. I've included some regional information regarding those 3 individuals. And I am recommending that because it is such a small pool, all 3 of those would move forward to the next step in the interview process. Happy to pause there if you'd like.
Well, what I'll indicate without, it's interesting. I put together my list by geographics, not by this. And interestingly enough, all 3 of those geographically also fit into my list. So that, I find that's good. So you're recommending that we interview all 3 of these?
Yes, sir. I would suggest, because there were 3 applicants only who identified association with this stakeholder representation, that you would move all 3 forward for further evaluation. And I just met Mr. Lang earlier before the break. I don't know him, and we are not related, so I just want to make that note as well.
Yeah, I don't know what the other commissioners have done, and so I don't want to preempt what they've done. Anyways, I don't know what the word is, but what I did, I went through by region and whittled the list down to, and by the way, I think it's important to, the 53 that we have remaining, I don't think there's a bad choice here, quite frankly. I don't think we're going to make any mistakes here, really. We're going to disappoint quite a few people when we try to get down to the number. But so I did my region, and I've come up with. It'd be interesting to see how this plays out. So I'm sorry to preempt your conversation, but
Not a problem. I will continue, as I'm not sensing any other comments about that recommendation. The next lens that I have this on, and I apologize, in my rush to put this out, I did fail to include an important note here. The framework memo also encourages or recommends that the board would solicit input from business and building organizations in the community. And so this list of names actually represents names that were put forward from the applicant pool by the Business Council of Douglas County, the Carson Valley Chamber of Commerce, and the Nevada Builders Alliance. So this list of names are the names that were brought forward by those three organizations, as was initially contemplated in the construct of putting this task force together.
Names on it, and this has how many? 10, so.
Correct. And there is at least one overlap in.
Well, yes, there's at least one repeat on this, right?
Correct.
One, yeah, okay. Got it. Your math is quicker than mine.
From there, Mr. Chair and Commission, I, for the next, I think, 5 screens, broke this down regionally. I think that's how you said you did it as well. I included information about the property type and their location around the county and the names. This is a list by region of everyone. So the names that were identified on the prior two lists, agricultural and the business and building recommendations, are on these lists, and I've noted where they were recommended in the far right column here. But the next 5 slides include 52 of the 54 names by region. So over the next 5 slides, there are no repeats, and it breaks the applicants down into the sort of 5 regions, if you will, just sort of arbitrarily looking at the northern, southern, east, west, and central parts of the county. It is 52, not 54 names, because there were 2 applicants who applied, who we can talk about. Both of them identified as Tahoe representatives, and neither of them reside or own property from what their application indicates. And I did make a slide to address Tahoe following these slides addressing the rest of the county. So it is certainly up to the commission if you'd like to use these slides to talk through applicants or however you'd like to approach this.
Okay, so kind of like to allow each commissioner to go through has each commissioner kind of identified who they would like to interview for this process? And so maybe we can start down at the end. Is there somebody, you're going to keep a checklist for us? Okay.
Mr. Chair, if you wouldn't mind me jumping in, I'd like to address 2 issues before we get started. One of them is the residency requirement, and I'd like to maybe push through a motion that's saying that we are only taking residents of Douglas County, not necessarily people who work in Douglas County may have a stake in it. And the other one is our policy of serving on more than one board at a time. So there are some people that have applied that are serving on other boards. So those are 2 things I think we should address and either remove or apply based on before we get too far into names. So I would propose that maybe we do a motion, and I don't know, you're the chair. I'm sorry, I don't mean to overstep. So I propose a motion of denying anyone that's not a resident, and then approve that or not, and then we can put forth a motion of either we allow more than one or we don't allow more than one. And I'll read from
so
our...
let me kind of make a ruling on that then, okay?
So from our boards and committees procedures, it says a person sitting on an advisory board only serves Douglas County, must be a resident of Douglas County and registered to vote in Douglas County. And then the other one from the board and procedures states, there it is, no non-elected person is eligible to apply or to serve on more than one board, committee, or commission at any one time. And the prohibition does not apply to appointments made by an individual member of the Board of County Commissioners. So I feel like they're all debatable. I just wanted to make sure we open those, discuss them, and put them to bed before we...
Okay. Since basically, here's and I'll rely on a legal counsel also on this, but in my thought process is that we're going to have a motion later on to approve the names that we select on this. And so a motion in the middle of trying to do that, since it wasn't necessarily agendized in that manner, I don't know that we can do that. We can maintain a policy amongst ourselves that we will not choose an individual who does not reside in Douglas County because that's in our norms and procedures. As far as the other concern about serving on more than one board, we have several members who are serving on more than one board now. That is a policy; it's not a ordinance. But it also this is a more or less an ad hoc committee than it is a standing task force. So it seems to me that rule would not apply. In my mind, but I'll stand to whatever legal counsel indicates.
Thank you, Doug Ritchie with the Douglas County District Attorney's Office. There's 2 questions. If the agenda allows you to establish the procedure, if the board wants to collectively vote on how that procedure will work. For instance, disqualifying anyone that doesn't reside within the county. You can certainly do that. However, you need to have public comment before you take the vote on that process, because that's what this whole agenda item is about, is the process to select these members. Similarly, regarding the board's existing policies regarding appointments to boards and committees, it is a policy. The board created the policy, so you can follow them or change them as needed to help you effectively make these appointments. I will say, I don't know if you need a formal motion. You can just amongst yourselves agree that the people that you're going to nominate will meet certain criteria, or you can formally vote on it. That is what this agenda item is about. But again, I want to emphasize that if the board collectively decides to vote on something like that, you would need to have a public comment period so the public could weigh in on that proposed procedure.
And I just want to reiterate, before we go too far on that I do have people that are on serving on other boards very high on my list. Yeah. So I don't want to say, I just know that it's a policy that we have, and I just feel it's important that we address it. And that way there's no question moving forward and how we choose or the public weighs in. I feel like that's important, that's all.
It seems reasonable to me to address these two issues early on and get on the same page so that they're addressed on principle and not on personality. And so I would take public comment and then take action on these two things. I think that's okay. I think that's actually helpful.
But we don't accept public comment during a motion, so we need to just basically have an understanding from the public, is that right, of what the two policies that we wish to enact in this regard, and then take public comment on that? How do we do that?
Thank you, Chairman. Doug Ritchie again. Again, the board is trying to figure out the process, and you can take this in bite-sized pieces. So you can have a discussion, public comment, and a motion on phases, if you want to call it that, of how you want to handle this process.
Okay, so we've generally had discussion regarding two possible constraints, right? I would call them constraints in regards to appointing people to this board. One regarding whether or not you can serve on more than one board, one advisory board to the Board of Commissioners in this capacity. And then the other one is whether or not we want to accept applications from non-members of our community, non-residents of our community. Is that right?
Well, I want to clarify as residents, because their businesses
Right.
are in Douglas County, which is what they're representing, but they
Okay.
are not residents of the state of Nevada. So yeah. So I think that there's a couple applicants that actually live in California but work in Douglas County. So that's, maybe one's in Carson or something, but I know there's two that don't live in Douglas County and don't vote in Douglas County. But given this is a specific task, they may have valid input. But like I said, that's why I like the way she framed it with, as a matter of policy, not people.
Okay, so we will accept public comment on those two issues at this time before we go into the deliberations on who we're going to take a look at. Okay?
I have a question that might be good to ask before. One of the applicants is a member of the Planning Commission, and my question is, will this matter go to the Planning Commission before it comes to us? And are there ramifications of that happening? If that were to happen?
Doug Ritchie with the District Attorney's Office. I don't believe so. This is not Title 20. It's a new section of code. So no, I don't believe it'd have to go to the Planning Commission.
Thanks.
Members that applied, yeah. Okay. Okay. Does members of the public understand where we are? Okay, I think I do, but okay. Okay, very good. Okay, we're going to, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. Wendy Lang for the record. I just want to take a moment to say the two applicants that indicated an interest and do not reside in Douglas County, I think both are interested because of their professions, which is very much tied to this type of topic, especially in Tahoe. And I do anticipate that due to the nature of their professional capacity in Douglas County, they likely will be involved in conversations as subject matter experts and providing insights as to how stormwater works, what maintenance looks like, engineering relevancy, and they will be very much part of the conversation. And I just want to make sure that that's clear as well in your evaluation of their engagement down the road. Thank you.
I am glad you brought that point up because we have 53 applicants before us, okay? And it's important to remember that we can't possibly have a committee that large, okay? I'm looking somewhere between 13 and 15. I think that's what our direction was. That doesn't preclude anybody that's not selected or any other member of the public, for that matter, having input to these committees, to this committee on a regular basis as they meet, okay? So we'll still use that expertise and we'll still need that expertise and they'll still allow that expertise. So whether or not we make a decision whether they can be on the task force doesn't preclude their ability to testify and have input. So thank you for that clarification. Okay. Okay. Is there any public comment on the two items that we have discussed as a board regarding qualifications or disqualification from this task force?
Jim Jackson. Based on the results when this first came up and the number of people that showed up and the anger that was shown and the distrust that was shown, I think anybody that is not a resident taxpayer of the county should not be on this board. Doesn't mean board can't ask them questions, but I think if they are on the board making a decision on how much tax the rest of us are going to pay, you're going to be back into the same spot you were before this started. So I would not allow anybody on this commission that is not a resident taxpayer in the county. As far as members of other commissions and other boards, I would also exempt them from it because it's going to be the good old boy network. They'll be on the boards making the decisions, and most of the people don't know if they want to trust them or not, depending on which commission or board they're on. That could lead to a problem for you also when they come back with a recommendation. So I'd be very careful about that. Again, that does not exclude them from being asked by the board or the commission questions, their expertise and things like that, but they are not one of the decision makers on it. I would be very careful on who you put on there as a decision maker. You have the ultimate decision, but they're going to be advising you. And if they advise you one way and the people aren't happy with that, you're going to take the blame for it. So I would be very careful about that. I would not allow a non-resident, non-taxpayer to be on any commission here, and anybody on any other commission to be on this commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
James McCallum for the record. I am on the list. I am on other boards. I think the reason they often get asked to be involved in things and talked to specifically by the county manager and assistant county manager when things like this come up is because I've shown interest for years in what goes on in this county. I am about to rejoin the Ranchos board in January. I think this is a significant issue for our area. And I would hope that being involved in the county isn't something held against you. As far as the other issues, I generally don't like the idea of non-residents being on the board, but if somebody has a specific interest, a business, or something that may in fact be a good idea to have them on this board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Terry Huffman. I agree with Commissioner Gardner very much that if we want to have a subject matter expert come testify to a committee, anybody can, actually the 52 people, if they're not selected, can come and testify to the committee. The committee is just a way of whittling down the requirements. And I feel that it's more than just the requirements on how to collect the tax or how to spend the tax. It's how to solve the problem. And that's what the committee is going to do, is solve the problem of the floodwater. And I think that we should not allow people not living in Douglas County to be on the board. As far as on two committees, I'm on another committee just like Jim is, but it doesn't take a lot of my time. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jim Slade. A couple of the speakers have already referred to this as a board. It's not a board, it's a task force. I think that's an important distinction. I certainly agree that the members of the task force should be citizens of the county, tax-paying citizens, and I don't have a particular problem with them being on another group or two. One other thing that I think you should, it's kind of related, that I think you should discuss before you proceed with who you're going to put on this task force, is the concern raised by Mr. Teixeira of the Tahoe Chamber. And I think you should discuss this beforehand and make a decision on this too. I think it would be appropriate to sever the lake from the previous concept of the countywide stormwater utility. At the lake, the primary concern is the clarity of Lake Tahoe, and they are overseen by TRPA, which has all kinds of other challenges that it presents. In the valleys, however, the primary concerns, other than maintenance, are infrastructure projects to try to control the negative effects of alluvial flash floods, primarily between Johnson Lane and Ruinstrath. So I think it's wise to let the lake deal with the lake issues and have everybody else part of this new proposal for a stormwater utility, and have the members all be from down in the valleys. I would, certainly people who have served in government, past or present, like Mr. Warner, Mr. McCallop, and various others who have applied, they have a valuable knowledge base. But I caution you not to appoint very many of the past or present government officials. This should focus on the citizens of Douglas County. And so I think you need to be careful with that, that it's not seen as just a bunch of the good old boys, that has wide reflection of the residents of the county.
Thank you. Additional public comment? Okay, we'll bring it back to the board. So address both of those issues, right? Okay.
I would move that we not consider applicants who don't live in Douglas County.
Second.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Hale, seconded by Commissioner Tarkanian, to not have individuals serve on this task force that are not residents of the county. Okay. Any further discussion in that regard? All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-0 and 1. So, okay, so we established that guideline. Now we need to establish another guideline.
My feeling is we have so many really excellent applicants that there's no need to have citizens do double duty on different boards. And I do like the way it was described, that this should really be a focus on citizens. And if we are too heavy on people who are currently members of other boards or have been, then we lose some of the value of what we're even doing here, which is a citizen committee to bring the citizen perspective. So I think we could I'm open to the other argument, but that's my feeling at the moment.
No, I could go either way on this. That's why I wanted to bring it up. I mean, this was specifically, it's in our guidelines, right, or policy. So it's not a hard, fast rule, but it is a policy. So I don't like just jumping policy. And you can say we have 53 applicants, and so if we lose 6 or 7 that are on another, we still have a ton of valid applicants. And that's just being, flat about how it is. Now, the second part of that, the flip side is you've got people who are invested in the community who are already knowledgeable and attend and aren't going to have a huge learning curve like some of the others might have. And there's benefit to having that at the same time, which is why I'm happy either way. I just wanted to make sure this was addressed and out of the way. So I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say.
Yes, you are. Can we cancel this now? This is probably the most important committee we put together. At least I think this is the most important issue that we've had since we've been on the board, so we should get the best and most qualified people. So I think excluding ones that are extremely qualified because they're on another committee would be a disservice.
Yeah.
I think we should get
yes
the
or
most-
no, you don't want to allow them or you do want to allow them?
Allow them.
Okay. Through the list here of the 53 that are remaining, to me, I see only 5 that are on current existing advisory boards to us. And so, but some of those bring, they all bring excellent talent to the boards we've assigned them to and could possibly bring talent to this board as well. And so I don't want to exclude them arbitrarily at this point in time yet. When we get through the interview process, then there may be a time where we take that as a consideration, okay? But not at this time when we're still trying to get down there. So is there a motion?
So, Mr. Chair, I move that we allow members of other boards to apply for this position, for a position on this task force.
Motion by Commissioner Tolbert, seconded by Commissioner Tarkanian, to allow current advisory board individuals to serve on the Stormwater Task Force.
I'm understanding that means we could still take it into consideration at any phase, but we allow them to apply. So yeah, I can support that.
So with that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And I would like to.
Those opposed? No opposed. Okay, so that's 4, 0, and 1. Okay, so we're going to entertain the idea that they can be on this task force. Okay, very good. Okay. Go ahead.
If I may?
Yeah.
I think it is a good idea at this point to address Lake Tahoe. And I do think it's a good idea to have them do their own separate process. And frankly, I would trust the county manager's office to figure out what that looks like and come back to us if they need us. The issues are very different at the lake than they are in the valley.
So as I understand it, and maybe staff can help us out with this, when we went through this process, they did put in a lot of research to us and comments to us when we first were looking at this process, and indicated during this process of identifying individuals that they were not going to submit necessarily anybody, but then they would have and formulate their own ideas to bring to the task force for delivery. Am I stating that correctly?
Wendy Lang for the record. Yes, sir, I believe so. We did not receive any applicants from residents in that geographic area. So I think first of all, to acknowledge that is important. Additionally, you are correct. We have, as staff, throughout this process over the past several months, engaged with various stakeholders at the lake, TRPA, State Line Stormwater Association. Mr. Slade is correct. There are very different objectives through managing stormwater at Lake Tahoe, and it may very well be a varied focus. I would not recommend that you lock them into bringing forward the recommendation through the task force. It may make sense to do that. It may make sense that the task force is very focused on other priorities and that this board would want to hear directly from staff or the subject matter experts or groups that we are able to work with in evaluating solutions for Lake Tahoe. And those would be my thoughts. Thank you.
Concerns and questions?
It does. I think for me, I think we should make a motion to narrow the scope of the task force. We have a few circumstances that I feel drive that. One of them is that we have no public engagement from the Tahoe that are participating in this task force. We have significant amount of input and staff involvement already doing that. But I would like to point out they are not exempt from this utility because the utility does serve Tahoe. The fact that it's different, I totally understand. And so I think it's appropriate to allow staff to continue that work and bring it back. So I would move that we narrow the scope of this task force to include the Valley, North Valley.
Commissioner Tolbert,
South
I
Valley.
think you need to take public comment before.
Oh, we do
making
have
a
to,
motion.
before we move on it?
Yes.
Oh, you have a motion then? Okay. Okay, so I'm suggesting that we direct the task force to focus on the basin and the Walker Basin and not include Tahoe in what the task force does and allow staff and the Tahoe stakeholders to develop that portion and bring it back to the board separately, independently of the task force.
I would agree with that, with the modification that it may not need to come back to us. They may feel that they can bring recommendations, get representation, do a working group, and then bring it, integrate it into what's happening. They may not need to come to us for approval.
That sounds just like what I was suggesting for the whole county.
Another concept idea, okay, so we need to go to public comment for that. So we're going to have back and forth here a little bit. Hold on, folks. We'll get to you.
Jim Jackson, you got to quit digging. You're just making the hole worse. Separating the two is logical because their needs are one thing, our needs are something else. But if they're subject to whatever the fee, tax, or whatever is going to be, they're going to scream bloody murder up there because they're not going to pay for us putting in flood control for the East Valley. Likewise, we're not going to want to pay for them putting in something that keeps the lake clean. They are county residents and everything, so if you put a fee in that's countywide, they got to pay it. So make sure you take that into consideration because that's going to be a big screaming point for whoever isn't going to get the benefit of it. And on this, the benefit is definitely in the valley on the east side and the south end. That's where the money is going to primarily be spent, not up at the lake. But yet the lake's going to be paying for it too. So there's going to be a real problem. So don't dig your hole any deeper. Figure it out now before we get to that point and stuff.
James McCallop. Normally, I'm sort of against everything being separate for Tahoe and the Valley, like it's two separate counties. I think in this case, the Valley is a valley between two mountain ranges. It has unique stormwater issues. The issues at the lake, of course, we've got TRPA, and that's always hard to figure out who runs what. I had a planning commission meeting trying to figure out glamping and what the TRPA has to say about it. But I think the Tahoe issues are separate. A lot of it involves water quality in the lake And I think that is something where maybe a separate expertise, some kind of separate look at that is warranted. Thank you.
Jim Slade, perhaps I wasn't clear about what I was recommending. My recommendation is that the stormwater utility only include this side of the mountains. You can't say that they have no applicants, they're not going to be on the task force, but we can still tax them. Fees. I don't think that's going to work. I think their program, a lot of the research has been done, but I think that should be a separate decision-making process. If you're really anxious to whittle down the number 53 down to a more reasonable number of applicants, just tell them that TRPA is going to be involved. And they'll go run them for the doors. Nobody in the valley nobody at the lake wants to deal with the TRPA. Certainly nobody in the valley ever wants to have to deal with TRPA. Let them have their own stormwater utility, and the valleys would have the bigger one, which most of the discussion has been about and will continue to be about.
Additional public comment? Okay, seeing no additional public comment, we'll come back to the board. So do you want to make a motion to?
The wording would be, just to flush it out, would be that the task force addresses the stormwater utility. Let's see, what is it? I had it, it's in my notes. I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep, these are all things that I kind of tried to get ahead of time, but now they're all, because we're not just talking about fees, we're talking about what the uses of the storm, or the responsibility of the stormwater department would be in those areas. So we would just basically exempt the stormwater utilities actions, activities in the basin, right? And they would do everything else. What's a good way to phrase that? I have, but that doesn't quite, I mean.
Can I give it a try?
Are you with me? You've got the
I would
legalese.
move that we direct that this task force focus on issues outside of the Tahoe Basin, and that staff work on a separate process for issues within the Tahoe Basin.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Hale, seconded by Commissioner Tarkanian. Do you have that, Taylor, in the minutes properly, so I don't have to try to restate that inaccurately? Okay. As stated by Commissioner Hales and seconded by Commissioner Tarkanian. Okay. Okay. Everybody under the understanding where we are? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes 4-0 and 1. Thank you. Okay. Now that we've interrupted you a lot, but at least we have some guidelines, right?
That's okay, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the actions. Wendy Lang for the record, sorry. So yeah, I do think that helps focus the conversation, and it's certainly up to the commission's pleasure if you would like to go region by region, as I have prepared lists for evaluation, or however this board would like to discuss. It sounds like some of you may have identified candidates.
You have a list? You have a list. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to start down there with Commissioner Hales. She can tell us who she feels like she wants to have before us for an interview. Then we'll skip over to Commissioner Tarkanian, and he can concur or no, we're going to have you go to next. Go next. Okay, yes. You're taller than I am. I can't skip over you. Okay, so and then Commissioner Tolbert, and then I'll share mine. Okay, and we'll see where we are. I think that's the way to look at it. So, do you want to do it? Huh?
How many do we want to propose?
Well, we'll listen to Commissioner Hales, and then if it's similar to yours, then that helps you, right? So, okay, Commissioner Hales, want to keep you a checklist on this? Okay, so we can see where we are.
I have I have 20.
Are you doing, are you doing it by region, or are you
I
doing
can do it by region.
Okay, huh?
Yes, I can do it that way. That is how I've worked. And I will say, I found the materials really helpful. Staff did a really good job. And, but it did take a lot of time to read through everything, provide some score, and then what I did is I used the alphabetical list initially to go through everything, and then I transferred the alphabetical list to the region so that I could see. I transferred my score from the alphabetical list to the region because the resume, it was hard to calculate the geography at the same time I was looking at experience, et cetera. So that's how I did it, and I felt like it was an efficient way to manage the material, so thank you for that. So I can go by, maybe it's helpful to go most by region. I can tell you I have a total of 28, and maybe that's a few more than we want, but I will just throw out the names of the North region that rose to the top for me, and I have 6 in the North region: Chad Grande, Jonathan Lang, Lenny Lerg, George Phillips, Steve Walker, and Lawrence Werner, commonly known as Larry. So I will also note that I incorporated all of the agricultural list, all 3, Jonathan Lang, Eric Ryman or Riemann, and Steve Walker, and as well as all of the representatives brought forward by the Business Council and the Chamber of Commerce. I just included those because I felt that I wanted to honor the business folks who brought these names to us, and they were all good candidates anyway, so that is aside, but those are the names of the 6 people that rose to the top for me in the North region. Sure. Chad Grande, Jonathan Lang, Lenny Lerg, George Phillips, Steve Walker, and Larry Werner. Do you want to do region by region? Do all of them? Okay. In the South region, Donald Bauman and Pat Garahan. In the East region, Denise Baronio, Chad Cox, Chris Garrison, Scott McAfee, David Mercer, Marco Midioni, Joseph Ortiz, Eric Ryman, Dan St. John. Yes, Denise Baronio, Chad Cox, Chris Garrison, Scott McAfee, David Mercer, Marco Midioni, Joseph Ortiz, Eric Ryman, and Dan St. John. In the West region, Sheila, forgive me on the pronunciations, Sheila Arnaud, Todd Carlini, Jim Elsmore, Tim McCoy. And finally, in the Central region, Christian Berner, Jim McCallop, Cameron McKay, Karen Peternell, Arthur Reed, Todd Weir, Terry Willoughby. And I will say I'm open to your ideas. They just... Yeah. I'm just saying, this is not... I'm open, but these are the ones that rose to the top for me. My last one was Christian, the Central region, Christian Berner, Jim McCallop, Cameron McKay, Karen Peternell, Arthur Reed, Todd Weir, Terry Willoughby.
So I don't have nearly as many. I didn't feel it was appropriate for me to make a decision on people that I don't know based upon just the resume. I figured some of you that have lived here longer may have a better input. So mine will be a little shorter. I'm starting with the agricultural group, as Ms. Lang had suggested. Follow her suggestion to include all 3 of those. Business community, Denise Baronio, Todd Carlini, James McCallop, and Lawrence Werner. So 4 from that group. McCallop and Werner. Am I not speaking loud enough? Okay. North region. God, that's something. Of the largest group, I don't have anybody, so. South Region, Donna Tanner. East Region, Daniel St. John. And the West Region, Terry Huffman and Virginia Sterrett. Oh, and I got the Central Region, Dave Nelson and Terry Willoughby. I think those people all have had a lot of experience in different areas and hopefully would do a good job. I'm sorry. What do I mean by the West Region, or did I? Oh, Terry Huffman and Virginia Sterrett. Yeah, I know, I had it separated that way, I'm sorry.
So I don't know if I need to read through, because you guys have said all of mine except two. So I would include David Howe and Patrick D. Garahan. Those were the only two.
He's on my list.
Oh, did I just not cross him off or shade him? Okay, so I guess the only one I had was David Howe to add from Fish Springs.
David Howe from Fish, where is that?
East Region.
East Region.
Oh, okay. Okay, you ready for mine? Okay, so I'm going to go by region. North Region, I have Jonathan Lang, Lenny Lurg, George Phillips, Steve Walker, and Larry Warner. For the South Region, I have Donald Bauman, Pat Garahan, and Donna Tanner. And the reason in that regard is that there's two that have applied from TRE GID, and Michael May has indicated that his schedule may not allow him necessarily to attend the meetings. But I think it's important to have an individual from the TRE GID on this. So I would go with Donna Tanner in that regard. The East Region, Denise Baronio, Chad Cox. I had Bayan Lewis. Bayan has previous 911 experience, I believe, right? Yeah, it's extensive, right? Okay. And I also had Scott McAfee, Joe Ortiz, Eric Ryman. That's the region that I have the most with. Joe Ortiz, Eric Ryman, Daniel St. John, and I also like having Dave Wetzel on there. Get those? Okay. West Region, Todd Carlini, Jim Elsmore, Terry Huffman, and Virginia Sterrett. And on the Central Region, Jim McCallop, Cameron McKay, Karen Pertinel. Is that how you pronounce that name? Corinne or Pertinel? You know, is it Karen or Corinne?
Karen
Oh,
Peternell.
it's neither. It's Karen. Okay. Okay. And I also put Cheryl Strelo on there, as well as Todd Weir and Terry Willoughby. So my list is probably, 27 names? Somewhere in that neighborhood. I think that would give us a good pool of individuals to try to select. So do we have some consensus here?
Let's start with
Kathy Lewis for the record. I am open to suggestions, but I think we should start with the first region. You have Central up, or is that the first one? With the North Region and look at consensus there. Go region by region now.
Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you, Doug Ritchie with the District
Before we do
Attorney's
that,
Office.
we have to go to public comment? Is that?
You need to go to public comment.
Okay.
I think there's been a good discussion. Maybe now would be a time to go to the public comment.
Okay. Before we start narrowing it, before we get an understanding of what the consensus was. Okay. I appreciate you interrupting me there to I don't disagree with you. I appreciate you calling my attention to that. So, yes. Okay. We're going to go to public comment in that regard. So is there any public comment? How many total names did we? Wow. Okay. Hopefully we can whittle that down a little bit. So go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
Jim Jackson. I've noticed at the top of each one of these, you're recommending 1 or 2 representatives from the different areas. Should the areas be weighted by the areas that have more problems? Because if you have 1 or 2 representatives from each area, you might not get the representation from an area that really does have a problem and everything. So I don't know if that's fixed or if that's just however you're planning on that. I don't know where that came from. But you might want to weight it by the area too.
Maybe I need to make it a little bit clearer definition of this. That the recommendation is eventually we might appoint 1 to 2 or maybe more from that. But this is just trying to whittle the poll down to who we want to interview in that process. So that doesn't necessarily indicate what the final result's going to be.
Okay. The other question, or the other caution I would have is putting previous commissioners on this board. People don't like the previous commissioners. They think they've gotten us into this, so I'd be very careful on doing that.
Jim Slade. I didn't think it was particularly helpful when Mr. Tolbert said that he only had 2 new names. If you're trying to gather consensus, you want to know all the names that he has so we can see how many people, it's different whether there's 1 person there or 2 or 3 that recommend somebody's name. I would also say that there were far too many members that proposed here to move forward who are previous or current office holders. I would say 3/4 of the people that Mr. Tarkanian mentioned are public officials or have been. I didn't count, but it seemed like more than half. And one other thing this is just me, but I think, and I'm not sure if you can tell this from the applications, but you guys have heard a lot of these people speak before. I don't think that anyone should be on this task force if they categorically reject any fees on residents in order to fund the utility. That is not to say that that viewpoint is not valuable, just that I think it would be counterproductive to the goal of the task force. As I understand it, the main goal is to come up with a fee structure that would be defensible and equitable, and that, like all utility fees, would have different fees for different areas that would be commensurate with the benefits that they receive. And after that, the board would hear arguments and decide whether they want to accept the task force recommendations or change them or reject any fees, as many people support. I also agree with Mr. Jackson that because the majority of the issues are in East Valley, and which I would include also the Johnson Lane area in that they should have perhaps an oversized representation. And one other possible solution that's come to me, which is kind of off the wall at this point, but would be to pay for the maintenance issues with general funds, and then I have ideas on how to do that later, and then perhaps because the more than 99% of the proposed infrastructure projects are for areas between Johnson Lane and Ruinstrath, you can, instead of a countywide minus Tahoe Basin utility, you could create a special assessment area for that area only, since they would be the beneficiaries of more than 99% of that $140 million. And I would urge you, if you did that, to put that to a vote. And if they don't pass that, then they accept that risk, and, we gave them the opportunity to do the right thing, and that's the way it would be.
Hi, Terry Huffman. I may have missed the mission statement of the task force. I thought it was to develop the deliverables like Mark and I have talked about and to fix the solutions to the problems we have, not just the tax fee. If you gentlemen and ladies could please define the mission statement for the task force. Is it just for how to raise money and spend money, or is it defining what we're spending money on and how we're making the solution to the floodwater?
Kim McGarry for the record. I'd like to take a step back before we even decide who's on this task board, and we should start, we're putting the cart before the horse, because currently the County of Douglas does not have proper GIS mapping. This is an issue that I've brought to them multiple times, and they continue to tell me that they have no way to actually correct their own water flow. They say it's completely out of their hands and that we got to wait 10 years for the USGS to correct that. So if we're talking about a task force, how is this task force going to be effective? How is this task force going to know exactly where this water runs and what basins it's supposed to make it to and how to manage it? I mean, we got to give the task force the proper data before we can move forward with asking them to give us a fee structure, right? Because if I'm going to get penalized because a subdivision was allowed to be moved in next to me and the easements weren't recorded, so now that drainage path for the past 23 years has been unmaintained, and the county currently states that they can't go on there and maintain it or check it, or they play dumb as to what I'm referring to when I mention the Cortez Lane channel, then our situation will never be rectified. If the county's saying they can never go on land that they made a requirement for, then it's never going to be fixed. This task force is going to be ineffective without proper data. I think the first step before we can even make a task force is to go back and have proper information in our Douglas County viewer of where the flood water actually runs and where it's supposed to be maintained so that we can move forward with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional? So our assistant county managers put up there the Stormwater Utility Task Force. And I believe that is pretty much the mission statement right there, right? Intended to create a collaborative and transparent process for evaluating the county's long-term stormwater infrastructure and determine funding needs and abilities, right?
Wendy Lang, Assistant County Manager. For the record, the language that is before you on this slide that you just read, Chairman, is the language straight from the item that was before you on June 18th and the framework memo that was brought forward as a recommendation. I did also in the background of today's item include the action language from June 18th, and that was to create a stormwater utility task force not to exceed 13 members to assist the county manager and board of county commissioners to evaluate options and develop recommendations responsive to community concerns related to the Douglas County stormwater utility.
I would expect that they would give us recommendations for whatever funding they see as necessary.
How do we want to go through this list? I'm wondering, okay, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't closed public comment. Yes. Is there anybody else who wishes to offer public comment? Okay. Then we'll bring it back to the board.
Okay, and I'll share my complete list. I mean, I can go as many numbers as you want, but I have, I believe, my 15. I also created my own spreadsheet off of the thing, so I don't have the areas like you have, so I have them by community. So, yeah, I know. You ready? Okay, so East Valley, Daniel St. John. Fish Springs, Joseph Ortiz, and David Howe.
Sorry.
Well, you already have all of these people, so.
Yeah. But still I need to know.
Okay. Foothill, Todd Carlini, David Howe. Fish Springs, so that's east. Foothill, Todd Carlini. Gardnerville, so that's central, Todd Weir. Um,
Boy, why couldn't you just stay to this?
Because I did this before you guys gave me that. I've been working on this since the beginning. I have 5 spreadsheets. I mean, I've been working on this. Yeah, I know. There we go. Johnson Lane, Lenny Lerg, Central Todd Weir was Gardnerville. So the Johnson Lane area, I have Lenny Lerg and Larry Warner. Minden, which will be. Yeah.
I'm letting them take it down. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I say they're all. Yep, I'm waiting. I'm just trying to make sure I keep my pace. 12. Okay, Minden, so that's also Central. Corinne Peternell. Dang it, I almost had it. I had the Corinne part, thanks to you. Also, I believe, so North, John Lang and Steve Walker. Ruinstrath, which is south. Those are on the ag page. Those are both ag also. And then I'm in a row here. So Ruinstrath, which is also ag. John Riemann. Chris Garrison is also from Ruinstrath. And then south, Jim Elsmore and Patrick Garahan. Garahan.
How many total? Just whoever got a vote. How many total? Okay, so, okay, so on the north region, we're going to go through this again. On the north region, I have Jonathan Lang. I have Lenny Lerg. I have George Phillips. I have Steve Walker. And I have Larry Warner. Okay. On my south region, I have Donald Bauman. I have Patrick Garahan, and I have Donna Tanner. On my east region, I have Denise Baronio, Chad Cox, Bayan Lewis, Scott McAfee, Joe Ortiz, Eric Ryman, Daniel St. John, and Dave Wetzel. On my west region, I have Todd Carlini, Jim Elsmore, Terry Huffman, and Virginia Starrett. And on my central region, I have James McCallop, Cameron McKay, Karen. I'm going to have to car in. It should be spelled with a C, not a K. Karin. Okay. Cheryl Strelo, Todd Weir, and Terry Willoughby. Yep. Okay.
Kathy Lewis for the record. I'm looking at the everybody's picks. We have 23 applicants that received 2 votes or more. 2 votes, 3 votes, or 4 votes. But we can go region by region and go through that list and see if that is agreeable.
Anybody that wants to add somebody to their list that only got one vote, perhaps. Okay.
Making sure I added it correctly because that would be embarrassing, but not unusual. Kathy Lewis for the record. Unfortunately, if Commissioner Gardner struggles with last names, I struggle probably 10 times worse. So bear with me, please. We will start with the North region. The candidates that received at least 2 votes were Jonathan Lang, Lenny Lerg, George Phillips, Steve Walker, and Lawrence Warner. Chairman, would you like me to go through the whole list, or would you like to discuss region by region?
Let's identify these, and then we can go back.
Okay. Then I will go to the South. There's 3 candidates that received at least 2 votes, or 2 indications. Donald Bauman, Patrick Garahan, and Donna Tanner. In the West, we have 4. We have Todd Carlini.
In the what?
West, sorry.
Oh, in the West.
Yeah.
Okay.
Todd Carlini, Jim Elsmore, Terry Huffman, and Virginia Starrett. And then I'll go back to Central. Sorry, I'm making you guys flip, I know. At least 2 indications or more is James McCallett, Cameron McKay, Karen Pinterell, Todd Weir, and Terry Willoughby. Sure. James McCallop, Cameron McKay, Karen Pinterell, Todd Weir, and Terry Willoughby.
And did we do the East?
Nope, I'll do the East next.
Oh, okay.
The East is Denise Baronio, Chad Cox, Scott McAfee, Joseph Ortiz, Eric Ryman, J. Eric Ryman, Daniel St. John.
And that gives us a total of?
23.
Is everybody good with that, or?
Mr. Chair, I think Chris Garrison was nominated by Commissioners Hales and Tolbert. Is that accurate?
Who was?
Chris Garrison.
I'm sorry.
Did Hales and Tolbert both have you? Chris Garrison?
Oh, Chris Garrison? Okay, you're saying he got 2 votes?
Correct.
Okay, so that would make it 24, which is about right where we kind of wanted to be, right? But if you need a few seconds here, why don't we'll take a 5-minute break, but we're not going to necessarily leave our seats. I mean, you can if you need to use the restroom, like myself. So, okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Okay. Okay, we're going to get started again. Commissioner Tarkanian. Let's try to get this done and over with, right? So I appreciate that. Okay, so we have 24 names that have been identified with 2 or more votes. And Commissioner Hales, you said you had an additional name that you wanted to entertain?
Yes, I would like to advocate for Sheila Arnaud. I don't know her, but she has a very, very strong application. And I also would like more women to be represented on the commission because it's heavily weighted in favor of men, which is fine. We had more men applicants, but but she's a strong applicant. No, I have one reason.
Yeah.
And by the way,
Oh.
Sorry. I ranked her high, and then I did an AI list asking them to rank according to the rubric, and she came out very high on both. So it's not just me. She is
Okay, so I'll give her that.
objectively very high.
I will give her that second vote that she needs to.
Perfect.
Okay?
Thank you. And then that
will
brings us
handle
to
that? And then
25.
that gives us 25. And
Yes.
that's kind of where I was looking at 25,
Yeah.
26, 27, you know. So
Yeah.
everybody else good with that? It doesn't matter, we got 2 votes, right? So, hey. Okay. So if we add Sheila Arnaud to that, we have a list of 25. Okay? Because I don't want to necessarily, okay. Are we all good with that? Okay, so then we need to have, if we're going to name those 25, we need to have a public comment in that regard. Is that right, Mr. Deputy District Attorney? Okay, we have 25 identified, okay? So we need to go to public comment for that and then come back with a motion to approve those 25 names. Okay, just want to make sure I'm following the procedure, okay? Okay, very good. So with that, then, we have listed, and I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to name them, and I'm going to have staff correct me if I make a mistake, and then we'll go to public comment on that. So, to my understanding, we have Jonathan Lang, Lenny Lurg, George Phillips, Steve Walker, Larry Warner, Donald Bauman, Patrick Garahan, Donna Tanner, Denise Baronio, Chad Cox, Chris Garrison, Scott McAfee, Joe Ortiz, Eric Ryman, Daniel St. John, Sheila Arnaud, Todd Carlini, Jim Elsmore, Terry Huffman, Virginia Sterrett, Jim McCallop, Cameron McKay, Karen Peternell, Todd Weir, and Terry Willoughby. 25. Okay. With that, we will go to public comment. Is there any public comment on the listing of those 25 names?
Jim Jackson. I only know a couple of those folks on there, but I heard the comment made that a lot of them were previous employees, previous commissioners, previous something in the county. In your process of interviewing, I would heavily look at that and take into consideration how the public is going to look at those commissioners or whoever they are on this board to make decisions that people think in the past they haven't done very well at. The other thing is I heard some concern, or not concern, but confusion on what is the commission's actual job. My understanding from when this commission was created, that their sole purpose is to determine how to pay for all the projects that the stormwater utility is going to fund, not to determine which projects they're going to do. That has already been determined as far as I thought. That might be a little bit of confusion, that their job is strictly to come up with the structure on how to pay for all the flood controls that are going to be put into effect. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Thank you.
Additional public comment.
Jim Slade. I was conferring with the stormwater manager and Rachel during the break there, and between us, we figured it was between 6 and 8 current or former government people who were on that list. And I think my maximum, personal opinion, my maximum would be that only 1/3 should be former or current public officials, so that would be 4 out of 13 or 5 out of 15, so you're gonna have to scale that back a little. You know, there are 3 people from TRE Holbrook. That's too many, you should scale that back. There are 3 from Ruinstrath, that seems a bit much just for Ruinstrath. I mean, other East Valley ones fine, but, you know, I'm sure you'll look at those kind of things. I do think that, I don't know at what point you need to look at this, but you know, I think a lot of people were shocked at the $140 million estimate for some of these, for these priority projects. And especially since they primarily benefit only one part of the county. And to a lot of people, it feels like a visionary wish list that is fiscally irresponsible in that regard. And it's similar to the Fairgrounds Master Plan, where you like the idea, except at the same time you realize that it's totally unrealistic. And I think with the stormwater utility, I would recommend paring down your list of priority projects, at least initially, to the most cost-effective projects. And that would likely be removing the $24 million Pine Nut Creek Dam, which will probably never survive a rigorous cost-benefit analysis. So if you focus first on the lower hanging fruit, retention basins or detention basins, whichever it is, and some of the, I think you'll get more support from the people without, if you have these absurdly expensive things that, you know, maybe you address them down the line, but I think at this point it's premature, and it's part of the reason that people have reacted so vigorously against this is it just sounds like so much money. And so I would urge you to keep that in mind. I don't know at what point you would pare down the list, whether that would, I mean, it's not up to the task force to decide the order of things or what's going to be included or not included, but I think it's going to be more palatable to the public in the end if it's pared down.
Thank you, Mr. Slade.
Hi, Terry Huffman. I want to thank you guys for putting the mission statement up on the board because I did not know it. Intended to create a collaborative and transparent process for evaluating the county's long-term stormwater infrastructure and funding needs. I think that says it all. It's not just funding, it's evaluating whether it's going to work or not. Yes, thank you. That's where I got it from. And I think it's a very good goal to have, and everybody's input, I'm sure, will be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Additional public comment? Okay, we're going to bring this back to the board. So what I would indicate with that is we understand this board understands the dilemma that we have going forward with the stormwater department. We have been funding that through the general fund with an allocation that came from our road maintenance fund over to fund the stormwater department to the tune of right now approximately $1.3 million, I believe. Okay, we understand also that that is at the expense of our road repair funds, and I don't know that this board, certainly I don't feel that that's an appropriate method of doing so in the future, because the cost of that running that department is going to continue to escalate. The cost of repair and maintenance of county roads is escalating on a daily basis, if not by a minute basis. And so I think that's what I was looking at when this idea of a stormwater utility first was presented to me as a commissioner from our county staff, is determining a long-term stormwater infrastructure funding mechanism. And so we attempted to do that through different processes. And the ideas that were brought forward to us, we found collectively that it was unattainable. And so we approved a couple years ago a stormwater master plan, and that lists a number of projects that are going to require grant funding because we're not going to be able to fund those through the general fund. But whenever you apply for grants, you're required to have matching numbers on that, whether that be as little as 10% or as much as 25%. So we have to also, as we try to go forward and identify those aspects of infrastructure that will benefit the county over a long run, and especially the residents of the county, we're going to have a pool of funds that are going to be able to allow us to achieve those matching funds. Going out and applying for them without the funding mechanism to have available the funds to match those funds is a difficult process. So I know that our stormwater division manager, Courtney Walker, has gone out and sought and is currently seeking other grants, but those are all going to be, if they're ever awarded, they're going to require a match. And so those are the two aspects that I feel personally need to be addressed. Is number one, how do we continue to fund that important program within our community, but also have the funds available when we have those grant opportunities come before us to accept those grants to the betterment of our and the health and safety of our community. So those are the two aspects, and those are the two items that I'm hopefully looking for out of this task force to try to identify and come back to us with a funding mechanism for that that's acceptable to the populace of this county. Those are the two deliverables, and I know Ms. Huffman has talked about that, and those are the two deliverables. At the same point in time, I know that a number of members have talked about the guardrails on that, okay? And that's why we created the enterprise fund, is so those funds that we do generate can only be spent within those categories. I know that that's a long dissertation on where we are here, but that's why, I think we have tried to identify a group of people that in our community, both business and region and expertise, to come back to us and visit over the next several months, to come back with us and try to design a program that is acceptable to our community, that this board can also accept. So is there any other commissioners who wish to add into my soapbox today? No? Okay. With that, we have 25 individuals we've identified. Is there any questions about who those 25 people are? Do we need to state those again, or are you interested in creating a motion? Commissioner Tarkanian, would you?
I want to thank the applicants who are here today.
Mr. Chair, Wendy Ling, for the record, certainly your prerogative. One final piece, and if you want to continue taking this conversation in chunks, we can continue with where you were going with the potential applicants to further consider. The final piece of information that I had prepared in this item was perhaps a discussion regarding a facilitator of this group. And I'd be happy to talk about that now, or if you want to continue where you were, we can do that.
What I'm wondering is, we have 25 applicants in here, and there may be an individual with this group that might serve as a facilitator in a very good capacity. I think maybe we could take that into consideration when we actually do the interviewing process on August 4th. And if there's an individual we feel should be the facilitator or would entertain that idea, then we can make that a selection and then identify the other members of the task force. Would that is that acceptable to the rest of the board? Okay. Does that give you direction on where we want to go with that? Okay, thank you. Okay.
I move that we move forward the 25 names previously listed to invite them to interview with us for appointment to the task force as has been described on August 4th.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hales, seconded by Commissioner Tarkanian, to invite the 25 members previously identified to appear for an interview process to a potential selection of the task force on August 4th. No other discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes 4-0 and 1. Now, understanding that that is a special meeting, I would ask staff to entertain the idea of making available, should a member of that 25 not be able to attend in person, that they be allowed to attend via remote. Is that appropriate? Commissioners? Okay.
We can do that by appointment, or is that too much in the weeds? Staff will figure that out. Each person gets a time.
Oh, wow, that's getting too much into the weeds, I think. We'll try to figure that out. We've tried to identify the time period, looking at 23, 24, 25, 26 applicants. So what I would like to identify is that we're going to ask the applicants to give us like a 2-minute, identify themselves 2 minutes and what their desire or interest is on that. Allow us questions and try to keep that to about a 10-minute time frame for each one. In my estimate, 25, is anybody doing the calculations on that? Ms. Rachel? 25 times 10 is 250 minutes. What is that, 4 hours? 4 hours, a little close to 5 hours, right? 4.5 hours, 5 hours. Okay, so we will take a lunch break that day. Okay, we know where we're going with this? I think that concludes this item, right? Thank you. Okay, good. It only
Thank
took
you,
about an
everyone,
hour and
for
a
your
half, right?
perseverance.
So that's good. Okay, not bad. Thank you, and appreciate everybody that did apply. It didn't get selected, and good luck to those individuals who did get selected, and we'll look forward to the interview. Okay, give you a couple weeks to prepare. 3 weeks. Okay. Okay, with that then, we're on to item 13.2 for presentation only, announcements and reports, updates from county commission members, including updates on the various boards and or commissions that they may be a member of or a liaison to, or any other meetings, functions they have attended, and any requests by a commissioner for discussion of a future agenda item. Commissioner Hales.
Yeah, just a few things. On July 23rd at 12:30 at Tahoe Ridge Resort Clubhouse, there will be a celebration of Lake Link expansion to the top of Heavenly. So that's very exciting, and anyone who wants to come celebrate, please join in. We have also upcoming Tahoe Transportation District will be having a strategic meeting in September, sort of a strategic plan retreat. So that will be good work to be done up there. And then the Carson Valley Arts Council is still considering the mural at their meeting on Monday. You've probably all seen pictures of it. So if you have any input on that, well, I guess you can't, might come back to us. So don't talk to me if you have any input on that. So those are just 3 little tidbits from some of my work.
So Carson Water Subconservancy met yesterday. Douglas County was the host, and we took the entire board, minus a couple absentees, out to Ruinstrath to view the flood event, and so they could get an idea of that. So that puts that front and center on the radar of the Water Subconservancy for future collaborations in that area. There was also some discussion, about water levels and stuff like that. That was, I found beneficial. The Parks and Rec Advisory Board, July 31st, we are scheduling the grand opening ribbon cutting for the Stodic Park ADA Playground. So we invite you to come out 9 a.m. to 11. They'll have pancake breakfast. The local Action Club will be there. They are presenting they're going to put a plaque up there recognizing the Action Club. If you're not familiar with that, that is a service organization sponsored by the local Kiwanis that has members, adult members with mental disabilities. They have their own service club, raise their own money, are very active in our community, and so they're getting a plaque on this playground. So it's also going to be nationally recognized. This is a big deal. Should get Douglas County some more recognition. And I think that's it.
Thank you. I just have a couple of items. Number one, we dedicated the splash pad several weeks ago down at TRE at the community center, and I don't think there's been one day that I have passed that, either coming or going, that the water hasn't been flowing. There are kids out there using that. So somebody actually tried to access the splash pad from Smith Valley, from Lyon County, coming over, and then they were upset because it wasn't working, not understanding that there was a push button there to activate it. Okay, so they got upset with us, and we corrected that situation. Anyways, I guess we needed to have flashing signs, right? Push me, water. Yeah. So, also, we dedicated on the first of the month the DART transportation fixed schedule for TRE South County. Picking up at TRE Community Center, at Topaz Lodge, and also at Holbrook Junction, 5 days a week, a fixed schedule, 3 times a day. So I would once again encourage our residents to use that service. For adults, it's $2, all of $2, which is a lot of savings in regards to gasoline if they want to take that opportunity. Really, that's besides helping attending as an alternate the South Lake Tahoe waste water or waste trash system that we serve as with a JPA with South Lake Tahoe and with El Dorado County. They will be bringing a proposed rate increase to this board for approval in a number of months, several months, not tomorrow. So anyways, I don't have anything else, so that's all I have. Thank you. With that, then we will go to closing public comment. Is there any public comment?
Jim Jackson. I didn't know if I was going to bring this one up or not, but I thought, why not? There was an article in the newspaper about the mural down on the theater. And once again, I see that they've changed their name. It's now the Community Arts Center. It also went on to some detail about the type of entertainment, and they were talking about a black box theater. For those who don't know what a black box theater is, it is the minimum amount of stage theater that you can put in, primarily due to costs. In my experience, that's where most theaters start out. A lot of them never progress beyond that because they get extremely expensive to put in the large equipment that a full performing arts theater needs. I don't know where this is going to end up. I don't know if they'll ever get the money to do it or not, but I think the county should be watchful on that and make sure you don't have a white elephant that at some point you're not going to be able to get rid of. The other thing is the mural. At one point it was mentioned that this can be a very nice thing to do because it can be seen from 395. You cannot see it from 395. There's another strip mall right in front of it. You have to really be in just the right spot to see it. So as far as that being a big draw, most people won't even see it. So be nice, it'll look pretty, but you got to get behind the other strip mall to see it. The other thing on this stormwater utility, this commission is supposed to come up with a way to pay this. And I want to make sure that you guys can give them some direction on what you think should be one way. And the reason I say that is most of the time it is all being considered on how much we have to pay. And I've heard that each area might have to pay a different amount and everything. One of the groups that should be included in there on paying a considerable amount are the developers. Whenever a development goes in, they should pay for all stormwater related to that development. If they're raising their development out of the floodplain, then that water is going someplace. They should have to pay for wherever the water goes to direct it to get it down to the river. If that means putting in a flood control channel all the way to the river, they should do that. If they aren't willing to do that, we aren't willing to give them the ability to build their 25,000 homes or whatever they want to build. If they can't afford to pay for the flood control damage that their development's going to do, they shouldn't do the development. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Slade. God, 25,000 new homes? God, I hope he's wrong with that. I think you need to move that decimal point over one. But I strongly agree with his comments. The board needs to vigorously pursue impact fees for developers. They've been getting away with paying nothing. You're trying to put it on the backs of existing taxpayers. It's dead wrong. You need to correct that, no matter how complicated it is. I have some comments on budgeting, and that would perhaps be a way to keep from raiding road funds to pay for current stormwater asset management, which I understand is a little over $1 million a year. And these comments are not meant to disparage any county employees, not at all. These are just my observations over the last 25 years. County always seems to be strapped for funds, whether roads, stormwater mitigation, or 100 other things. To me, one of the reasons for that appears to be the explosion of personnel costs in the last 15 years. Let's take the county manager's office. I think Jennifer Davidson's doing a good job, but less than 15 years ago, we have what I considered two very good county managers, Michael Brown and Steve Mokrahysky, and I think they both earned under $100,000. Since then, the county has had a total growth of less than 7% in population, from around 47,000 to about 50, while total inflation has been less than 50%. And now we have a county manager making around $300,000 and an assistant county manager position that didn't previously exist, making, I believe, over $200,000. That's a combined 400% increase, far more than the 50% rate of inflation. Let's consider the recent debacle regarding a stormwater utility. We had an assistant county manager, the stormwater manager, and a highly paid consultant, all deeply involved. We should have been able to get away with only using 2 of those 3. The resulting proposal was so patently unfair and rolled out so poorly that the board had no choice but to essentially start over despite a large expenditure of time and money. I have great respect for Kathy Lewis, always have, and she's recently been elevated from CFO to COO, but now we also have a new position of comptroller. Or let's look at the Department of Community Development. We used to have a director of the department and either an assistant director or a planning manager. Now we have all 3, yet none of them came with any real experience or training in planning. That doesn't seem like it's fiscally responsible, especially since 2010, building permits have averaged less than half of what they averaged in the early parts of this century. More and more, it seems like personnel is getting top-heavy, especially since the county's only grown 7% in the last 15 years. Yet that the county always seems to be short of funds for important projects. It seems the county needs to look at trimming personnel and related costs. This could perhaps pay for the maintenance of stormwater assets from the general fund and run instead of rating the road fund.
Thank you. Additional public comment? Okay, since seeing no additional public comment, the meeting is hereby adjourned. We will have, once again, a special meeting on August 4th to determine the members that will serve on the Stormwater Task Force, and then we'll have our regular meeting on August 6th. Thank you.